The third Sunday of Advent, traditionally known as Gaudete Sunday, which Latin, it comes from the antiphon, the introit there at the beginning, where you hear rejoice. Rejoice in the Lord always. And Peter's talking about it in this second reading as well, rejoicing. If you just break that word down in English, again, joy. Find your joy again. Been a difficult year to find some joy for a lot of people. The world really needs to rejoice again and is desperate to find the joy it has lost. And so Advent also, if you think about this word in the context of Advent and look at it in the light of the nation of Israel and the Israelites in the first reading, Advent is a time of preparation. The coming is basically what it means, preparation for the coming. And we here, we've been conditioned to believe, this is a good time of year, it's cozy, and it's a calm preparation, and we do all of these things. We stay cozy and we stay calm, we're supposed to at least. So that's what we're told in preparation for Christmas. But again, if you look at it just in the light of the context of Isaiah chapter 61, which you hear today, this is occurring at a time when the Israelites are rejoicing. Why are they rejoicing? Isaiah the prophet says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because the Lord has anointed me. He has sent me to bring glad tidings to the poor, to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and release to the prisoners, to announce a year of favor from the Lord, and a day of vindication by our God." They're rejoicing because they are released from captivity. They're going back home. This is the part of Isaiah where the Israelites have been captives and slaves in Babylon for about 75 years. And Israel's history, I've said this before, is nothing more than them being slaves to one government or one people after another. What do they do? They're slaves in Egypt. Moses leads them out through the power of God. They rejoice at their captivity. The Assyrians enslave them. They rejoice. The Babylonians enslave them. Not only do they enslave them, they also haul them back off to Babylon. So they're the most talented people of Jerusalem and Israel in general Judea. The most talented group is all hauled back to Babylon to work in Babylon. Their city is utterly destroyed. Their place of worship, the temple, is gone. If you think of the darkest moment in U.S. history, probably for most of us, I'm not old enough to remember Pearl Harbor or any of those things, but some of you are. Probably 2001, I guess, terrorist attacks of 2001 would be up there. Well, just multiply that times like 1,000, and that's what the Israelites are going through in Babylon. I mean, they are utterly devastated and destroyed people. But they're released, and they're on their way back home. They're rejoicing. At key moments, God reveals his power to the nation of Israel. So they've been slaves to Egypt, to Babylon, to Assyria. What's coming after this? The Greeks. And then finally, the Roman Empire. They're a conquered people. And that's a sad thing for them because they expect a revolution. They have been looking for this revolution. They know they are God's chosen people, but they keep getting enslaved. They know that salvation is to come through them. But when God reveals his mighty power, they rejoice in that. And so Advent for us is not a time of calm preparation. I mean, I want you to pray. I want you to do all those things and prepare for the coming of Christ. Because what you're preparing for is like the Israelites, is a revolution. A revolution the likes of the world which never saw before. If you look at that first reading in the light of Isaiah, then fast forward 500 years. What's going on here? When John the Baptist is here preaching in the Gospel of John, today. They're preparing for a revolution. Rome is now in control. And Rome prided itself as being the baddest dude on the block in the history of civilizations. The Babylonians, the Greeks, the Egyptians have nothing on these people. Their way of life they viewed. Their Caesar was to be the way of life for everything. They believed they were the best at everything, and everybody needs to adopt what they're doing. They're going to spread their culture and their civilization to the edges of the world, and they did. Doesn't sit very well with the Israelites who are expecting a revolution and a king, but John the Baptist is here today proclaiming this revolution is about to come in Jesus Christ, a true king. We heard last week the Gospel of Mark. It begins with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Let me think. The gospel of Jesus Christ, Son of God. If you don't know, Mark is a companion of Peter and Paul. He writes his gospel roughly around 70 AD. His friend Peter and Paul have been put to death about 5 years earlier by Emperor Nero in the persecution. But he says, the gospel of Jesus Christ, Son of God. In the Greek here, he uses evangelion. The good news, glad tidings, the same thing you hear in Isaiah. The king is coming. The revolution is coming. And then he goes on, Mark, who's writing this probably in Rome, in the center of the Roman Empire, as a very much small minority. He goes on to kind of throw shade at Caesar a little bit. You know, Julius Caesar, son Augustus, was called the Son of God. The Romans viewed Caesar as not just another emperor. He was a man among men. He was divine. He was God. Augustus, his son, they called the Son of God. What does Mark say? The gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the true Son of God. The kingship, not of this earth. The revolution that is coming. And he's saying all that because he says the real victory is won. The God of Israel is the true God. He's not just one among many. The victory is won, the victory over death, the victory over sin, through his suffering, death, and resurrection. All of this is reason for us to rejoice. The true king is coming. The true king is here. Prepare yourselves. And that's why the church that Christ institutes stands up to Caesar and says, not you, Jesus Christ. Not you, Jesus Christ and his church, which he will build upon the rock of Peter. They hold the keys to salvation. They're ushering in a new world. Probably tasted real good in Caesar's mouth. Choke on that for a little while. John the Baptist out there fulfilling this prophecy, telling them the people prepare. He's baptizing, repent, prepare yourself. They ask him, who are you, him? He clearly says, I am not. I am not unfit to untie the sandals of the king that is coming, his cousin. And so he's constantly reminding us to prepare ourselves, to prepare our hearts, to prepare our minds, our lives, our communities, the people around us. Not to do so always in a calm fashion, but to do so like a revolution is coming, because it is. And in about 2 weeks, the King of Kings is born to us, and that's a revolution that continues to play out. And we become the witnesses of this revolution.